On this edition of Gameball College Kickoff, we're going to do some recap of what happened in Week 5, and we also got an exciting matchups. We're going to be talking about Week 6 coming up of the college football season. Gameball College Kickoff podcast starts now. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Game Ball College Kickoff Podcast, where the football season never ends. I'm your host, Michael Riley.
And I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
We're going to be doing a recap of what went down in Week 5, and we're going to go into Week 6 matchup. So, what you got for us?
All right, on this edition, we're going to recap Week 5 and what will be our first episode in the month of October. So, this is definitely something exciting. The first recap that we're going to talk about is Northwestern taking on Wisconsin. Wisconsin would defeat Northwestern by a score of 33 to 24 in that matchup. Alex Hornibrook, 11 of 20, 197 yards in the contest. He would throw one touchdown pass. However, he would throw two picks in that game. Jonathan Taylor, 19 carries as well, 80 yards and two TDs for Wisconsin. For Northwestern, Clayton Thorson, 29 of 45 on pass attempts, 219 yards, three touchdowns, so pretty impressive there, but would throw two picks, including a pick six, which would be crucial in the fourth quarter for a 36-yard return, which made it at one point a score of 31 to 10 at one point in the fourth quarter. How would you break down this matchup?
Well, earlier upon, it was kind of a close game. Northwestern, as I expected, would give them the run for their money against Wisconsin. Here, their offense, they was able to move the ball down the field, score some points, and they made some stops on defense. Then it switched around in the second quarter to the rest of the game, which Northwestern just flat out laid an egg. They couldn't stop Wisconsin offensively and defensively. They at the end they made a push, but it was a little too late for Wisconsin to get to an early start. Defense, they kind of had some struggles here and there, but they was able to make adjustments, get turnovers, get stops, and just keep Northwestern's offense in check through parts of the game. But they need to learn how to finish the game because it could have been surprising, but I was confident in Wisconsin to hold their own against Northwestern. And their offense, what they did, just ground pound, make play, smash mouth football, wear out the defense. Towards the end of the game, Wisconsin needs to learn how to close it out, not make it close. But overall, Wisconsin did a pretty good job of holding their own against Northwestern.
Northwestern once again, unfortunately, falling short in this game to the Badgers once again by a score of 33 to 24. That brings us to our second recap, Mike, and that is Georgia versus the Tennessee Volunteers. Georgia was shut out Tennessee in this game by a score of 41 to 0 in this game. Jake Fromm, 7 of 15 on pass attempts, 84 yards. He would throw one touchdown and a pick as well in that contest. Nick Chubbs, as I like to dub him, Nick Chubb, 16 carries for 109 yards. For the Volunteers, Quentin Dormady, 5 of 16, 64 yards. However, he would throw two picks and no touchdowns in this contest. How would you break this one down?
Well, I kind of figured Georgia would put it on them as I expected. First, I figured it'd be a little close game. Then Tennessee would get some effort and fight, but Georgia was not playing around. They flat out shut them down and not held them scoreless in this game. The Georgia defense is something to be reckoned with. They just wrecked shop. They
Yes.
forced turnovers, got pressure on their quarterback, stopped the run. It's just a recipe for success on defense. Georgia, in my opinion, is one of the top underrated defenses in the country. And I say if they were to play in the SEC championship game against Alabama, they'll get Alabama for their run for their money and cause them problems. Georgia played excellent all sides of the ball. Offense, keeping it simple, ground and pound, run the ball, get some completions going for the young quarterback. It wasn't a stat day, but the only stat that counts is a win.
Absolutely.
That always matters. It doesn't matter about statistic, numbers, how many passing yards, receiving yards, rushing yards. If you can get a win by the end of the day, that's all that counts. So offense, defense, and special teams play very outstanding against Tennessee, who is starting to lose their edge now. Tennessee has got to make some adjustments because right now I'm gonna say the coach is on the hot seat because he is hearing it from everybody. Offense is not putting up points. Defense can't make stops. Coaching staff is not putting the players in the best position to succeed, offense and defense. So that's what Tennessee has to look forward and move on. If this continues for Tennessee to where they struggle, lose close games, or get blown out, the coach is out the door by the end of the season or before the end of the season. So it's crunch time for the coaching staff. If Tennessee does not see improvement, the coach is out the door. So it would be beneficial if Tennessee could step up and make more plays on offense and defense. If they can't do that, then they're done for the season.
So Georgia once again making a huge statement again in the SEC, and they have been definitely mentioned along with the Auburn Tigers as the biggest threat to possibly dethrone the Auburn Tigers this year in the SEC. So we'll see what happens. But definitely Georgia is making some huge steps right now.
You mean Alabama?
Who did I say dethrone?
You said dethrone Auburn.
Or not dethrone Auburn, excuse me, but dethrone the Crimson Tide, that is Alabama. So definitely, Georgia's definitely, they've come out of nowhere this season. I don't think very many people expected them to be where they are in this season.
Well, if you think about it, Kirby Smart, former Alabama defensive coordinator, when he first took this coaching job, he knew it was going to be a work in progress, and the offense and defense was going to have to improve. His specialty is defense, and he got that defense right. It took him about 1 or 2 years here and there, but that defense is on track to being successful. So if Georgia keeps it up, they could be a possible threat to dethrone Alabama out of the SEC championship.
All right, we can't wait to see what happens. And once again, there's still plenty of football left to be
Plenty of
done.
football left.
But Georgia is making some noise, so definitely be on the lookout for that team indeed. That brings us to our third matchup, Mike, and that is the Oklahoma State Cowboys versus the Texas Tech Red Raiders. The Cowboys would be victorious in this game by a score of 41-34 in that matchup. Mason Rudolph, Nia Seymour, once again balling. Mason Rudolph, to me, I think he is the real deal as far as quarterbacks in Division One. 27 of 38, 376 yards. So once again, racking up big numbers in the air as well as 3 touchdowns. Would throw a pick in this game, but however, he would also run for a 16-yard go-ahead touchdown, which would have been in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter of that game. Nick Sharmanek for Texas Tech, 29 of 46, 330 yards, so not bad for his air game as well. And he would also throw a score for Texas Tech in this game. How would you break down this matchup?
Well, Oklahoma State, they came, they saw, and they got the win. But it was very sloppy in a way if you really think about it because it was kind of like a repeat of what happened to TCU, but they found a way to clean it up a little bit and close out the game at the end. But Oklahoma State needs to be careful, especially on defense, because they let Texas Tech come back and eventually take the lead at one point, but they was able to make some adjustments and was able to make some stops, but they have to learn how to finish games. If they don't fix what they need to fix on defense, this could be ugly for the defense going forward, and they could possibly lose another game, costing them to be out of the college football playoff picture. But they're still in it. There's still hope But my biggest thing is their defense needs to be cleaned up and they need to be more physical. Now the offense kind of had the same struggles they did at TCU, but they was finding ways to get players open to make plays, get yards, also score touchdowns. So they finally started seeming to learn take what the defense gives you, and that's where you gotta go moving forward. Because this schedule of Oklahoma State is going to get tougher and tougher as the Big 12 season progresses. So you have to find ways to take what the defense gets you, then go with the home run punch here and there. But overall, they played good enough to win this game, but they still got to be more consistent and not have mistakes, also turnovers. For Texas Tech, they did a pretty good job. Defense still needs to be improved. They was able to first force turnovers. They was able to make plays. So they have to be more stout on defense and not give us many plays, especially the secondary. They gave up too many chunk plays to Oklahoma State that cost them the game. If the defense can work on their fundamentals and not give up chunk plays in the secondary, then the defense will be fine. But the offense is just going to be the offense, rack up yards, rack up points, and put pressure on the opposing teams to score. So you're not worried about the offense too much. It's the defense of the Texas Techs that you need to worry about. It's a work in progress, but it'll get better eventually.
Now, one question, Mike, I do want to ask you. Speaking of, we've been talking about Mason Rudolph since the beginning of this season. Right now, he's for the year thus far. He's thrown for 1,909 yards. He's also already at 16 touchdowns and a 67% completion as a passer. With games like these, to where it seems like they actually should have been in a better position to win. How would games like these, even though they won, compared to other games going on in the country, how do things like this affect his hopes as far as winning the Heisman Trophy?
Well, you have to keep putting on better performance and you have to win out. If you keep putting on better performance and better numbers and you win out for the rest of the season, then you be the conversation of winning the Heisman. But by losing to TCU, that hurts your stock a little bit or somewhat drastically, and you have big turnovers in that game as well. If he could overcome that and win out the rest of the season, the Big 12, and put up good numbers, then he could find himself winning the Heisman. But it's going to take here and there and some luck for TCU to lose, and he's going to have to be on a good performance throughout the rest of the season for him to win that Heisman. So if he does that, then he'll be in the Heisman front runner to win.
All right. Once again, be on the lookout for Mason Rudolph, like we've been speaking about all season. But once again, Oklahoma State would be victorious over the Texas Tech Red Raiders by a score of 41 to 34. That takes us to our final recap, which is the Clemson Tigers and Virginia Tech. Um, this was actually an interesting game. I felt like from the jump, Clemson would be winners by a score of 31 to 17 in this game, improving to 5-0 on the season, and handing Virginia Tech its first loss of the year, and dropping them down to 4-1 on the year. Kelly Bryant, 12 of 21 on passing, 186 yards as well as a touchdown. He would also have 19 carries as well and 94 yards. So definitely doing a little bit of everything. Tavian Feaster, however, would have 2 receptions and 63 yards. Scored a 60-yard touchdown in the first quarter of that game. How did you like that game?
Well, like I was saying from the get go, when we first talked about this matchup a week ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping it was close to make it a closer game, but it wasn't. Clemson was Clemson. They're way too disciplined on offense and defense. They do not beat themselves. If they'll find a way for you to make a mistake on the opposing's offense and defense. If Clemson does that, Clemson pretty much win this game. So on offense, they was clicking on all cylinders, taking what the defense gives them, uh, choose some time off the clock, get the defense worn out. Once the defense wore down, then they'll strike for the big play for yards or touchdowns. So that's what they did. Offense played outstanding in this game. The stats wasn't pretty for the quarterback here and there, but it was balanced. The offense was balanced enough to annihilate Virginia Tech's defense, which is one of the best and not underrated in the country. We'll go to the defensive side of the point of Clemson. Defense played outstanding. They forced Clemson to be a one-dimensional offense. They shut down the running game, and in the passing game, they was able to force the quarterback to beat them by throwing the ball, and they was able to get turnovers. They was able to get three and outs. The secondary it did a good job. Not a good job, great job. I said this is not, excuse me, I said this is one of the best secondaries in college football because they play fundamental football in the secondary. They get real physical with you, they get up your face, and they do not beat themselves. One thing that their technician of the secondary is where the ball is thrown, they find a way to jump and knock it down instead of face guarding, going here, there to get the flag thrown, whatever. They find a way to turn back, make the play on the ball, or knock it down from the receiver's hands. That's something that you don't see coaches teach the secondary of other schools nowadays because they're relying on this and there to try to knock it down, either big play or a face guard pass interference. But what I like about Clemson secondary is they're very well taught. They're technician and they play to the ball. They look for the ball and they tackle very well. And this is one of the most underrated front sevens in the country, I think, because they can get after the quarterback. They was causing nightmares for him, frozen throwing the ball early, and that defensive line, a true freshman defensive end, I forgot his name, his jersey number 7. He had a sack and he had a one-handed interception. He jumped off. That was nasty. He just went and snagged it out there. If he would have stayed on his feet, he probably would have ran in for a score because he was down and they down on there, which I don't like the rule. If you're down, nobody touches you. It should be down. You should be able to get back up
Right.
and run for more yardage. But that's here or there. But Clemson's defense, under defensive coordinator Venables, they played good and they was able to shut down Virginia Tech's offense through the whole game.
So definitely a great performance once again by the Clemson Tigers. Once again, winning by a score of 31 to 17, and once again improving to 5-0 on the season. With that matchup, that does wrap up our Week 5 recaps. Now we're going to jump into Week 6 and our top 4 matchups to look forward to this coming Saturday. We're going to start with a big one coming out of the SEC, and that is Ole Miss taking on the Auburn Tigers. Ole Miss coming off of, however, they're coming off of a thumping. I don't know if that's a friendly word to say, but they lost. They were stomped out basically by the Alabama Crimson Tide by a score of 66-3 in that contest. They're also currently fifth in the SEC West. Auburn, they're coming off a win, however, against Mississippi State by a score of 49-10, and they're currently riding first in the SEC West. And they're also a mention, as well as Georgia, as a potential threat to the Alabama Crimson Tide as far as supremacy in the SEC. What do you like about this matchup the most?
Well, Ole Miss, they getting thumped. They got beat down badly because their offense wasn't clicking. They got smacked around by Alabama, and defense wasn't where it needed to be at. They got smacked around by the Alabama's offense, giving up plays running and passing. So they really need a lot of work going against Auburn's offense because Auburn's offense will ground and pound. And once they get that ground and pound going and they wear you out, then they'll take some shots down the field with a big play action pass. And also the quarterback can throw and run. So that's going to be a problem for uh, Ole Miss's defense if they don't fix their issues going forward. So the offense has to get clicking. They have to get off to a fast start of scoring points because Auburn's defense, they can play some good defense and it's underrated. They played tough against Clemson, but Clemson was able to make more plays than Auburn. So if Ole Miss could get the offense going and can find a way to stop Auburn's running game and force them to throw the ball, then they'll win. But it's going to be tough because Auburn will wear you out and take advantage of your mistakes. Now on defense for Auburn, just keep doing you. Just keep playing the defense that you've been playing. Smash mouth defense, stopping the run, force the quarterback, throw the ball, and play some zone here and there, and just get some turnovers. Don't get no penalties. Special teams continue to play good. Offense just continue to run the ball effectively and be consistent in the passing game. And Auburn find themselves winning this matchup. It's going to be tough for Ole Miss to overcome and try to win this game. So they got their hands full against this Auburn Tiger team.
Absolutely. Once again, like you mentioned, coming off of a loss, 66-3, Ole Miss doesn't get any easier against the Auburn Tigers.
No,
They
no.
definitely got their hands full for a second week in a row against Auburn. The second matchup we're going to discuss is via the Big 12, and that is West Virginia and Texas Christian University, also known as TCU. West Virginia, of course, last week won over the Kansas Jayhawks by a score of 56-34 in that game, and they're currently first in the Big 12. Also, TCU, they also won against OU by a score of 44-31 in that contest.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, excuse me, and they're actually tied with West Virginia for first in the Big 12. So definitely a tiebreaker going into this weekend in that conference. What else do you like about this matchup?
This is going to be an exciting matchup. This is going to be for continue to be the first place, the top of the Big 12. High-powered offenses against defenses that are well coached and don't give up big plays. Some's got to give. West Virginia, they're like more up-tempo offense. They like to score quickly and wear you out that way. And they was able to do that against Kansas, and they was able to run the ball effectively, get some gapping holes going, and the passing game was consistent, letting the playmakers make plays. But I did notice in that Kansas game that the receivers were dropping easy passes at one point. You can't have that if you want to beat a good team like TCU. And if you can make plays and get some completions and be able to catch the ball, their offense can be able to put some points against TCU defense. Now I'm gonna go to the defense. The defense was able to play good enough at one point, but they let Kansas come back and make this game close. But they was able to hold Kansas off at the end to get their offense back the ball to score 2 touchdowns and officially put this game to bed. But I would advise West Virginia's defense to play more tight. They have to stop the run because against Kansas, Khalil Herbert, the running back, had almost had 300 yards against them. It was 291 yards that he had against West Virginia's defense. So that's the area that they need to improve on is their run defense. Because if they give up another 100 yards like that against TCU, they could be in big trouble and possibly lose this game. So they have to find a way to stop the run. If they can stop the run, they can force TCU in the bind to be one-dimensional offense, be able to pass the game. And their secondary is talented enough to get it done. I like the secondary of West Virginia. They're real physical, they're real tough, and they get in your face. So if West Virginia can find a way to stop TCU's receivers, then they do their job on defense. Now TCU has to do a repeat of what they did against Oklahoma State. It was a big win for them on the road, but you can't be comfortable with that. You have to be hungry. You got to keep going. And I feel like Gary Patterson, the coach of TCU, will have their mindset right and have them focused because this is a big game coming up, and this is for first place in the Big 12 officially. So the offense just keep being balanced and run the ball. Take a page of what Kansas did rushing wise against West Virginia's defense and get the pass game going like you did against Oklahoma State. If TCU can be well balanced on offense, running the ball efficiently, as well as getting a good pass attack going, they can find a way to wear down this West Virginia defense and come out with the win. And defense just keep playing you. Don't give up nothing too big. Play man, play two-man safety deep. Get the double cover the best players on that West Virginia team. Make them beat you in the middle. If you can do that and force turnovers, get 3 and outs, the TCU defense will win this game. And the TCU is underrated for their defensive line getting good pass rush against the quarterback. They don't really blitz a lot. They just let their front four line get the pressure collapse the pocket, stop the run, and sack the quarterback. And that's a good job of Gary Patterson doing when he coaches the defense, teach some technician. So if TCU could do that, they could beat West Virginia.
So definitely a huge contest in the Big 12. Once again, the tiebreaker between the Mountaineers and the Horned Frogs this weekend. So definitely whoever wins this game will definitely be the top dog among the Big 12. The third matchup we're going to talk about in the state of Florida, the Miami Hurricanes taking on the Florida Gators.
The classic matchup.
Yes, absolutely.
Battle of the battle for years. It doesn't matter what record that both teams have. It's going to be a dogfight.
Mm-hmm. The Miami Hurricanes, first in the ACC coast, they defeated Duke last week by a score of 31-6 in that contest. Florida sitting atop of first in the SEC East and winners over
Florida
Vanderbilt.
State.
Or excuse me, Florida State, excuse me, first in the SEC East and winners over Vanderbilt by a score of 38-24. The state of Florida showdown. What do you like about this matchup?
Well, Florida State is coming off a win over North Carolina State. Just to let you know. Not North Carolina, it was Wake Forest. They just come out of win Wake Forest. So their first official win of the season, which is sparked some confidence in them. But I don't. But it's gonna be a tough match up against Miami because Miami is playing some good ball, offense, defense, special teams. They was able to wear out Duke to get that big win. The running game was sufficient. The pass game was sufficient. They was well balanced, and the offense line did a good job of run blocking and protecting the quarterback. And that gave time for the quarterback to give his receivers chance to make plays. And also, the running game was sufficient enough to wear down Duke's defense. Now, Miami defense played extremely well. We are starting to see a glimpse of the old Miami defense from back in the days, which is flat out dominating opposing offenses. So they have to get better and better and improve, and they will continue to find themselves making more key stops on the opposing offenses. I like the linebackers of Miami. They play sideline. They tackle well open field. They can uh, play pass coverage as well, and they can also get to the quarterback. So Miami's linebackers is underrated to me, and the secondary is playing some outstanding football right now. You have some true freshmen coming in here and there, but they're balling. So if they continue to get better, this Miami's defense could get scary going down four.
Hurricanes and Seminoles. This Saturday. Be on the lookout for that matchup.
And Florida has to find a way to get better on offense and defense. If they don't get better on offense and defense, it could be an ugly game for Florida State.
All right, Florida State. We'll see if they can overcome a great test by the Hurricanes, who could be potentially back on the rise.
Yeah. Florida State's defense was keeps them in the game, but it's just with Francois being out for the season due to a knee injury, the Florida State offense has not been the same.
And that is going to take us to this is actually one of my favorite rivalries, whether it's football, in this case, even basketball. This is definitely one of my favorite rivalries, and that is the Michigan State Spartans taking on the Michigan Wolverines. The Spartans are first in the Big Ten East and first off a victory of the score of 17-10 over the Iowa Buckeyes. Michigan first in the Big Ten East as well after defeating Purdue by a score of 28-10. What do you like about this rivalry?
Well, this is a clash of the Titans rivalry. This is two teams that hate each other's guts. They're bad blood, and there's no love lost. But once the game time comes over, it's on and cracking, and they will show no respect for each other. They get down and dirty. So with Michigan being Iowa, no, excuse me, with Michigan State being Iowa, they was able to get some plays going on offense and defense. They was able to limit the big plays out of Iowa's offense, and they're gonna have to do that going forward against a very talented Michigan offense. If the Michigan State defense can correct their mistakes here and there against Iowa and move forward against Michigan's offense, they'll be able to stop them and find themselves winning, but it's going to be very difficult, and they'll have a big challenge ahead. And offense has to be efficient. They have to play near a perfect game against this very talented Michigan defense that can play good defense. They're everywhere. Their front seven can get off to the quarterback and stop the run. They can penetrate well. They can force you to get outside the pocket, making some mistakes. And the secondary is playing some good ball as well. They force a lot of turnovers against opposing offenses in each week of the games of this season. So that's what Michigan State has to be careful is make a mistake on offense and getting a turnover. If you have one turnover against this Michigan defense, that's pretty much game over. So they have to find a way to be able to be efficient, wear down the defense, take some time off the clock, and score touchdowns. You don't want field goals against Michigan. If you want to beat Michigan, you have to go for touchdowns. Now, for Michigan side, the offense is clicking on all cylinders, being balanced, get some passing attack consistent going, and just let your players make plays in the pass game to get some yards. And they're running the ball effectively between the tackles and outside the numbers. So continue to do that and be balanced. And defense continue to play good defense, stopping the run, mix it up with some coverage here and there. The linebackers is playing very well. They play sideline to sideline. They continue to do that and continue to tackle well in open field. And secondary just continue to be physical and force turnovers and force wide receivers to run the wrong routes and force the quarterback to make the mistake. If they can do that, Michigan can win big at home.
And this is, I mean, not only is this a huge rivalry game, so you have bragging rights after this win, but
Oh
not only
yeah,
that, but you also right atop of the Big Ten East on top of that. So there's definitely more than one thing that's on the line with this matchup.
everything is on the line with this matchup. With both teams been playing head to head for years. Now, finally, Michigan was able to beat Michigan State last year, so they're feeling confident that they can come in and win this game. But you have to be careful. You can't underestimate Michigan State.
And with that huge rivalry, I can't wait to see that matchup. I would definitely have to say this actually might be my favorite matchup to look out for personally this weekend. With that being said, we're going to jump into the predictions part of the broadcast. We're going to start with Ole Miss and Auburn. Who do you like in this matchup?
Um, Ole Miss is coming off that blowout loss, and I see a repeat. Ole Miss will not be able to compete with Auburn offense and defensively. Auburn's too much. They're loaded. So I'm going with the Auburn Tigers to win big at home. I'm going to say the score of 35 to 7.
I'm going to agree with that one wholeheartedly. I just think the way that Auburn's playing this year, also along with Georgia, also along with Alabama, the top three big teams along the SEC right now. Once again, like we talked about, a huge loss for Ole Miss, 66-3. It's going to be interesting to see how they recover from this game. I think so. It's going to be interesting to see how they appear in this game. Whether they learn from that loss. But I think there's going to be too much Auburn as well. I'm going to give them a score of I'm going to give them 38-0. I'm going to give them 38-0.
I'll give them a fighting chance, so I'll give them 7.
All right. We're going to jump back into the Big 12, West Virginia and TCU. Who do you like?
It's going to be a shootout, but I think West Virginia will find a way to pull it off on the road in a tough environment because West Virginia kind of has TCU's number as lately. So I'm going to stick with history on this side. I'm going to say it'd be a close game. I'm going to say West Virginia wins 44 to 41 over TCU.
Ooh-wee. I like that one indeed.
It's going to be a shootout.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with. I like the Mountaineers, but I'm going to say something's telling me to pick TCU. I'm going to say it's going to be a close one at home as well. I'm going to say it is going to come down to a game with a field goal, perhaps maybe a crucial turnover within the final minutes. I'm going to say, mm, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say 27-24 in this matchup. I think it's going to be a high scoring matchup indeed, but I think TCU will fit. No, I think they'll find a way to win it at home.
Yeah, I'm because you have two offenses that can score, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be a higher scoring game than that. So that's why I picked 44-41 West Virginia. It's gonna be a close game, but feel like it's gonna be that 40 range with high offensive calibers like these two teams. So I'll say in the 40 range, but I'm gonna go with West Virginia 44, TCU 41.
All right, there you have it for that prediction. Either way, high scoring, high octane offenses clashing in this one. It's definitely going to be a classic Big 12 showdown indeed.
Hmm.
The third matchup, Miami versus Florida State.
I like Miami to win this one because Florida State has not find an identity on offense. Defense is there, but their offense is going to struggle, and the defense can't bail out offenses all the time. So I feel like the defense is not going to be able to do enough against Miami's offense. So I'm gonna say Miami wins 35 to 17.
I think this is going to be a great game. This is definitely one of those classic state of Florida football matchups that I've loved ever since I was a kid.
In the 80s with Michael Irvin, Jerome Brown, and the crew, and Benny Testaverde, and all those guys.
He
And
knows his football, so I can say.
it was just one of those great rivalries you used to love watching. Any other team you want to watch, you always wanted to watch Miami versus Florida State because you know you're going to get a battle and it's going to be a dogfight to the end. But I'm going to ride with Miami to win big in this one, 35-17.
35-17. I like Miami in this matchup as well. I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to say this one's going to be a score of 28-21. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I definitely think it's going to live up to the hype. I definitely think this is going to be, once again, another classic state of Florida showdown between two big names in college football all together, not just the ACC. So I can't wait for this matchup as well. But I definitely have the Hurricanes winning in this one as well. The fourth and final one. I definitely want to hear your prediction on this one, indeed, and that is the Spartans and the Wolverines. Who do you like?
I like Michigan at home to win this one and to win second in a row against Michigan State because offense is coming on better and putting up points, but that defense of Michigan is too vicious and is going to cause Michigan State offense problems, and Michigan State is Michigan's defense. So with that being said, I'm gonna say Michigan wins this one, score of 31 to 14.
31-14. This is going to be a great rivalry, and I know that Ron Harbaugh is he's definitely gonna have his team ready
Jim
for. Or excuse
Harbaugh.
me, Jim Harbaugh will definitely have his team ready for this one. Um, this is going to be a classic. I just have a sense this is going to be a great matchup. I'm going to go with the score. If I had to pick one, I'm going to say this one's going to be 35-28 in a thriller.
Mm.
I definitely think they're going to come out strong in the first half. I just think how they make adjustments in the second half, how these teams come out in the second half, I think will be the defining story of this game. I definitely like the Wolverines in that matchup.
All right,
And
that's some good points.
And with that being said, that does wrap up our top four matchups for Week 6 in college football.
All right, social media. You can follow me on Facebook, Gameball College Kickoff / Gameball NFL Info. That's my Facebook sports page. And you can also follow me on Twitter. That is at capitalized GAMEBALL_MYKE. And you can also email me at gck.gnfle@gmail.com. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, gck.gnfletv. What about yours?
You can find me on social media via Twitter at JoBellENT. That is all one word. Same thing with Instagram as well. And also you can find me on Facebook under Marcus JoBell ENT Jenkins.
All right, that will do it on this edition of Game Ball College Kickoff Podcast. I'm Michael Riley.
And I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
By saying have a safe, blessed night and be good. This is Game Ball College Kickoff Podcast where the football season never ends. Peace. We are out.